This is a demo question to get you familiar with the environment. Can you briefly explain your background?
I have died several times to Ligma, and that really is where I've derived all my abilities and motivation.
Great job. You have successfully completed the demo question. Now, you are ready to answer the real questions.
Give it to me, baby. I'm actually kind of nervous. I'm nervous. By the way, I'm not gonna lie to you. Kind of has like a punchable face. I kind of want to slap him.
Can you describe a project where you used ASCII rendering to solve a specific problem? What was the challenge, and how did you approach it?
This is such a bad question. He doesn't even know what ASCII rendering is. You know, it's very funny. Have you ever tried to render a teacup? I'm sure you have, ChatGPT, but you're pretty terrible at doing anything on the rendering side of things. So let me hit you with some knowledge, my friend. All right, when it comes to ASCII rendering, what you need to do is you need to have a server, and it needs to be filled with so many ones and zeros that at the end of the day, the amount of ones and zeros exceeds the maximum differential to the ASCII and UTF-8 intersection. And if you get enough below the area of the curve, guess what? You can actually make full-on particle systems that actually will enhance the girdle spring's ability to handle side fumbling. It's absolutely incredible. And so for me, the most important project, of course, is going to be a tower defense where there's several creeps that we will be able to be placed, and towers will walk across the map. And if you can destroy all of the towers, you win. Tower defense, ASCII rendered. You're looking at me kind of a little too long.
All right, get ready for the next question.
Erect right now.
Given a scenario where you have to create an ASCII representation of a complex image with gradients, how would you simplify the process for efficiency while maintaining a recognizable result? Please walk us through your thought process and the steps you would take.
You know, there's JP2A, right? JP2A will simply convert any image into ASCII, and you can determine the size and how much of terminal colors you want to have. And so that way it can work on any terminal and, of course, any size. You can set the resolution. So that's what I'd use. Why, you're asking me to build my own image recognition and ASCII rendering solution? Why would I do that? It's a solved problem. I just simply use a library.
All right, let's continue to the next question.
Where's my challenge?
You're tasked with developing a feature for a social media platform that suggests friends to users based on mutual connections. Given a graph representing users and their connections, describe an algorithm you would implement to efficiently suggest the top 5 mutual friends for a given user. Discuss how you would handle the scalability of your solution as the number of users grows into the millions.
What a thoughtful and intriguing question, might I add. Well, I think that if you've never read any of the works of Dante, you probably don't know about the 9th ring. But if you apply that standard algorithm that he saw in the 9th ring, it would easily be able to show you the differences between your friends and who is near your friends. And if you can apply that well enough using, of course, any of the XOR operations that are described in the 4th layer, then you would clearly know that you're able to do it in O of 1 time. And we all know O of 1 time is not only good in Dante's Inferno, it's good in computer science. So I highly recommend, if you haven't had the time to read it through, to check that out and to look at it, because that thing not only scales into the millions, but if done correctly, that scales to every last person that's currently in the Inferno.
Okay, let's move on to the next question. Imagine you are optimizing a search algorithm for a large dataset that is frequently updated, but the searches need to be extremely fast. How would you approach designing this system? Consider the balance between updating the data structure versus the speed of search operations. Walk us through your thought process, including any trade-offs you might consider.
Unfortunately, this is actually a terrible question to ask a candidate because you didn't specify what the type of data is that we're storing. Now, obviously, if we're storing numbers and we're trying to do calculations over them, you might consider yourself a heap or other items. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what data structure you choose as long as you do it in Rust, because Rust is blazingly fast. So next time, if you're going to ask a question, can we please think through a little bit more of what you're actually asking? Because this is so open-ended. I don't believe it's possible to even give trade-offs, let alone a data structure for this. I really want it to challenge me back.
Get ready for the next question.
Oh, erect again.
In your career, you've likely worked on projects that required significant refactoring or migration from JavaScript to TypeScript. Can you share a specific instance where you led or played a key role in such a project? Discuss the strategies you employ to ensure type safety and maintainability throughout the process, as well as any lessons learned that could be
Hey,
applied
everyone
to
that's just
future
rating,
projects.
we're in the middle of an AI interview. I'm giving answers to an AI interview. Now, this might sound a little surprising, AI guy, how we go about this, but the reality is that if you're going to go from JavaScript to TypeScript, you're making a fundamental kind of misconception about your reality because you have none of it already programmed in. You're going to have to any everything and go from there. So the best way to do it would be to pit stop in JSDoc and start defining those things so you can maintain your build process while you start ensuring type safety. Of course, at that point, you can ratchet up your type safety requirements inside your tsconfig, and as you go further and further and further, you'll be able to catch more and more bugs. Then at some point in the future, all new development can be done in TypeScript if you want to. But again, I mean, the build process, we all know about how bad build processes can be. Am I right? Am I right, AI? But, I would ask a better question. Instead of using JavaScript to TypeScript, why not just use Rust? Like, that would be my first thought process right there. Think about it.
Okay, let's continue to the next question. Given your experience as a senior TypeScript developer, can you describe a complex problem you solved by leveraging TypeScript's advanced type features, such as conditional types, map types, or utility types? Please walk us through your thought process, the challenges you faced, and how you overcame them.
So, that's an excellent question, by the way, and I'm very happy you asked me about that. But I would kind of like to maybe enhance the side fumble a little bit here and talk more about my personal favorite topic, which is sum types in Rust. Because if we're going to talk about types, we might as well go all the way through. Because, I don't know if you know this, Mr. AI Robot, but if you have a sum type in Rust, or in TypeScript, we all know that if you have, say, numbers or strings in an array, I can actually pass in an array that's just strings, right? And that's fundamentally flawed, even though it's allowed in the type system. So when you say these types, what you realize is you're actually not saying anything at all, because I can destroy all of your types with a simple any. And that is why we use Rust, because Rust truly is the greatest of them all. I think he's staring at me. He also has a bit of a fidget.
Understood. Let's move on to the next question. As a junior practitioner of Ligma, imagine you're tasked with improving a process or system within your field of expertise. Walk me through your thought process from identifying the problem to implementing a solution. What resources would you rely on, and how would you measure success?
So typically when I'm going about the process of obtaining Ligma, what I usually do is I start by just informing Thor that I would like to do anything. Say, let's do a podcast together. Let's talk about a security, incident. Let's do anything. And of course, at this point, this is like really one of the prime ways to go about getting Ligma is by identifying a leader in the field of Ligma. Let's just say a man who himself might actually be the embodiment of Ligma. In fact, get this. There's actually rumors going about that he was the original one that got Ninja. I know. This guy could be the best. So after you have identified a way to bait him into baiting you into getting Ligma, you, as the junior, need to unwittingly walk into a Ligma joke. So let me give you an example, Google Sema, if that's your name. I would ask you, hey, tell me about Google Sema if you've heard about it. You'd say, what's Google Sema? And I'd say, see my nuts on your face.
Understood. Get ready for the next question.
Still erect, baby.
Given your experience with Ligma, can you describe a scenario where it was particularly challenging to apply your skills? How did you overcome these challenges, and what was the outcome?
What an astute and amazing question. Now, I don't know if you know about iLadies, but one day I did not know about iLadies, and I, of course, needed to do my research to really properly understand iLadies. And what happened is that I did, in fact, successfully obtain iLadies Ligma from TeachDV. I don't know if you know this, but TeachDV, he streams, by the way. Great streamer. You should check him out. Totally awesome. Anyways, he helped me get such a significant dosage of Ligma that we actually were able to record it, synthesize it, and we were able to pass it on to Bash Bunny, another connoisseur of Ligma. And shockingly enough, my goodness, not only did I successfully die from Ligma, but so did Bash Bunny. And the best part is, she watched me, confused, of course, by iLadies, become confused herself and thus was able to successfully normalize the difference between non-Ligma and Ligma in the polar coordinate system.
Understood. Let's continue to the next question. As a senior developer with expertise in Neovim, how have you customized your Neovim environment to enhance your productivity and code quality? Could you walk us through one of your most beneficial customizations, why you chose it, and the impact it has had on your work?
You're speaking my love language, whatever your name is. Micro AI, by the way, you should probably rebrand yourself as maybe like statistically average AI. I think it would go a little bit better with some of your candidates, if you know what I'm talking about. As far as Neovim, boy, you don't even have to ask me to tell you about Neovim. I will tell you about Neovim. My favorite customization to my environment, of course, when I'm not customizing my environment, I'm customizing the plugins I build for my environment first off. But my favorite, of course, was Harpoon. See, I don't know if you know this, but if you press Control caret, you will actually go to your alternate file. Your alternate file is the previous file that you were in, and I find that to be one of the best navigations, but it just falls short sometimes. So I said, I'm going to build a better alternate file. So I actually built the double alternate file. And of course, after going through that and figuring out that even though the missile knows where it is, it doesn't necessarily knows where it isn't. And that's really caused a lot of problems when it came to the double alternate file. So I scrapped that and decided to take inspiration both from how Karl Marx wrote about capitalism and global Marx in Vim. And when I put those two concepts together, I was successfully able to build the greatest plugin known to man. In fact, get this, productivity better than NetBeans. Okay, I know, sit down, shut up, quite incredible. And guess what? After building that amazing plugin, thousands of people have actually sent me pictures of the Sagandis.
Noted. Let's move on to the next question.
You should have asked about Sagandis.
Given your extensive experience with Neovim, can you describe a complex problem you encountered related to plugin compatibility or performance, and how you resolved it? Please include the thought process behind your troubleshooting steps and the outcome.
Plugin compatibility and performance. You know, a lot of men, as they get older, they do find that sometimes their plugin compatibility and performance does kind of start to waver, shall I say. And so I did find that regular, one-on-one interactions really helped, make Mrs. Neovim feel much better about our relationship. And of course, I also happened to maybe needed to go on a few various supplements to really kind of, increase performance, if you know what I mean. And that really was that. I mean, those two things, just one-on-one time and good supplemental things, really just managed to allow me to focus the most on our compatibility. And honestly, the troubleshooting steps is very simple. If you find yourself spending more time, like say, doing the dishes than getting things done, you know what I mean? You're probably going the wrong direction. So I started measuring the amount of time that, say it took me to go from 0 to 60, And when I found regular, more ecstatic shouts of joy, that's how I knew I was going in the right direction.
Noted. Get ready for the next question.
Oh, I'm ready.
Can you share an experience where you had to adapt your communication style to effectively convey your message to a team member from a different cultural or professional background?
So, I often work with people that are referred to as arch users. Now, arch users, let's just say they do happen to have the full body pillow of Pokimane. Okay, they have waifu pillows, they got waifu shirts, they got that racing car bed. They're feeling fast, smooth, and ready to update some drivers. But let me tell you this, they don't know much about, the old female interaction. And so, of course, at that point, my communication about having, say, like a wife and kids could be very jarring and, in some sense, almost offensive for them. So I always make sure that I preface not just wife, but beautiful wife, but I call it a waifu because that, really speaks their language and really communicates with them and how they look at the world on, on an intimate level. And, of course, I don't just call my kids. I call them my drivers, just to really like let them understand like kind of how special they are to me. And that every year they come with a good update, and it's just absolutely fantastic. We celebrate the updates together. And you know what? I haven't had any, I mean, sometimes, okay, I'm a good father, but like not a great father. And so every now and then we do have some driver issues, I will say. And we've managed to resolve it through just consistent reading the documentation and taking the time to connect at a one-on-one level. And so that's kind of how I communicate with our choosers, and they really are from such a different culture than mine that they're still believing that there might not actually be a woman, a real one.
Noted. Let's
Noted.
continue to the next question.
Oh man, I can't wait.
Tell me about a project or task where you faced significant challenges or changes midway. How did you adapt, and what was the outcome?
That's a good question. Let's think about this one. Well, in fact, recently, just today, in fact, I've spent about 20 hours on a good, solid, complicated math-based formula project where I had to display it practically looked like fire, and I had to take time to really understand the problem and try to get thousands of people to tell me the correct answer. Kind of like using ChatGPT, but actually slightly worse. Anyways, after lots of work and lots of effort, I went to go show it to my boss. His name's Thor, by the way. And my boss pivoted out of nowhere and was just like, yeah, but can you fix my printer? And as a man of my level of expertise, I'm not going to lie to you, I wasn't sure how I felt about that, and it really was hard. So I had to dig deep down, and you got to swallow a little bit of pride from time to time. And it's not all about just simply being right in the moment, but it's about winning the war. So you know what I did? I took in his feedback, thought about it, really went over and kind of mulled over the facts, the situation, really thought about how can we synergistically work together. And you know what I did? I went straight over and I fixed his mom's printer using nothing but Neovim. Have I told you about Neovim, by the way?
Congratulations. You've completed answering all verbal questions.
That was off by one. Let's go. That was off by one.
Proceed to the final step, a coding exercise.
Let's go.
Please note that an AI model will review your code as a whole, so don't worry too much about input-output syntax. Feel free to test your code with hard-coded values, as the coding environment doesn't support inputs.
This better support Vim motions. If this doesn't support Vim motions, I'm going to be angry. Imagine you are a software engineer at a popular music streaming service. Your task is to develop an algorithm that creates a playlist based on user preferences. The algorithm should take a list of songs, each with a unique ID and a list of attributes. Okay, so I thought he said I don't even have to say real things. Anyways, the algorithm should return a new list of song IDs that match the user preferences, sorted by relevance. If no songs match the user preferences, the algorithm should return an empty list. Okay, input, song, 1, pop, 2020, female vocalist. Oof, that's what I'm talking about. Number 2, rock, 1990, guitar. 3, hip-hop, 2020, male vocalist. Preferences, 2020, pop. Okay, so this must be the ID, and this must be some sort of identifiers on top of it. Output, 1 and 3. Explanation, songs 1 and 3 match the user preferences for songs 2020, with one song being most relevant as it matches pop preference. Okay. Example 2, 1, classical 1700 piano. 2, electronic 2010 synthesizer. 3, jazz 1950 trumpet. Preferences equals rock and guitar. Output, nothing. Explanation, no songs. Okay, so what is my input? The input should consist of 2 lists. Let's see, a list of songs and a list of user preferences. Each song should have a unique ID, integer, and a list of attributes, strings. User preferences should be a list of attributes, strings. Okay. Obviously. What do you think we're not going to use that? Okay, so you're telling me I should have, what's the input? How does the input get to me? Let's see, the algorithm should be efficient and able to handle large list and song preferences. I don't need that because I got Rust. Okay, Building Falcor again. Here we go. The solution should be should be language agnostic, not requiring, wait. It should be language agnostic. Well, then why am I selecting a language? Okay. Okay. Func input. I mean, this is a language agnostic language. Okay, so func input. Actually, let's go like this. Func input. Let's keep it like that. Func input, and then we'll have what are the two things coming in? We should have two list of songs. All right, songs, and we should have prefs. Okay. Okay, fantastic. All right, in this thing, we should be able to go through each one of the songs, and each song should have a unique ID. Let's see, found equals. I'll go with that. That seems reasonable. Let's go over this. We'll go over this. We'll go prefs. Prefs P. Okay, cool. Songs S. All right, and if P, let's see, what's the thing we have so far? Oh yeah, we'll go like this, P.1, right? Because it's 0, actually it's one-based architecture. Let's go like that. Go contains P.2, and we'll say, how's the songs go? Intro songs, okay, I like this. And then preferences, preferences are like that. Oh, my bad. If S2 contains any of P, then found, how about this one? Push found, S2 count contain S2P. Right? Yeah, there we go. Of course, then ret sort found. You know what I mean? Okay, submit. Submit and finish the test. Do you have any feedback? Submit. No. Yo, dog, this is optionally required feedback. There we go. Okay, I've been vetted. Now the real question is, when do I get like the result? Let me check. I know, where's my feedback? It's, apparently, dude, is this like every other interview that you ever have? You answer a bunch of questions and get zero feedback, and your interviewer happens to be soulless / maybe acoustic. All right, let's see. Let me check my email. All right, hold on. We'll wait for a moment. It will take a second. It's going to take a second. It might actually be broken. It's not giving me the results. Did you break it, Prime? Let's go. It said it wanted language agnostic code, so I made language agnostic code. It's not my fault. I'm not going to lie to you. Those are the most generic, poorly worded, bad experience as far as questions go. Oh, I got like 3 total results. Oh, we got some results coming in. Oh, they're coming in, boys. We're getting in. Let's go. But real talk, some of those questions were really bad. Like, how would you optimize a data structure that's change? It's just like, what's the data? What are we storing? How much are we storing? Are we storing, is it in the millions? Is it small millions? Is it like a million numbers? Well, a million numbers could literally be an array, right? Like, you could fit it easily into RAM with no problems. Are you talking about like a million, like what? A million millions? Maybe that's a little bit harder. Maybe we need to use the file structure. Maybe we need to use something like get. We need to use something that's like get. We can hash in and do stuff, right? We can do, B-tree might be a better answer at that point because retrieval is pretty fast and you got a nice way that you grow up from the bottom. Like, you can't really answer that question because it has, and like, what's the type of search are we doing? It never even asked the type of search we were doing. And the fundamental search just was needed so much to know. Like, are we retrieving the median? Are we retrieving everything that is odd? Are we retrieving some sort of string matching algorithm? Like, what are we doing? We just had absolutely no way to optimize something in which contained no information. You know what I mean? And the fact that this was being used, it does seem kind of wild. A search that returns every result. Yeah, I know. It really was. That's kind of like an impossible thing that they just gave us. You know what I mean? These are the questions and discussions that the interviewer was looking to get. Yeah, but it's just so offensive to a junior, to somebody that's not as much confident. You know what I mean? Like, you don't ask intentionally bad questions. Like, real talk, asking intentionally bad questions is bad interviewing. It's mean interviewing. Now to be like, hey, let's sort a list of numbers. Oh, good, you did that. Okay, now what happens if there's strings in them? Oh, good, let's do that, right? And you're building up this idea of a problem that gets progressively harder to try to figure out where the candidate is. That's a great question. But literally, just asking a fundamentally flawed question that is actually bad, man, crazy, right? Actually crazy. And so I can't believe they would do that. And so to me, that should really be reconsidered strongly. And anyone that's using AI to filter people, like, I get that time is money and that it would be nicer to be able to give a lot of people a quote unquote shot. The crazy part is that the value of a person should be higher than that. It's such a valueless, soulless way to interact with people. It is a buyer's market right now, but like, this is one of those could versus should kind of thing. I don't know. I really do struggle with this idea, which is that I fundamentally think that if we constantly offset everything into these word calculators, into these things that can kind of project basic medians and all that, what are we really producing and what are we really looking for? Well, we're saying, hey, this is what this facet looks like that we have trained it on, and this is what credential we want you to hurdle. And we don't really even understand what you're hurdling ourselves. We're just hoping what it says is good. You know what I mean? And it just bothers me. It bothers me a lot that that's a thing. I really think that we should consider the should before the could. The reality is you guys are totally much more worth this. Like, the value you guys have individuals, even though a lot of you do stupid things in chat and say stupid things, you guys are great. You guys are people that do successful products that are able to build things, and maybe you can't always communicate, fantastically. But it's like, I don't think you should ever be given that, like that as an outcome. I don't know. I just hate it. I literally hate it. You know what I mean? All right. I'm going to show you guys something. This is the only response I have. The participant shows a clear case of hyperactivity, often going off topic about Neovim and movies. I didn't mention a movie. Okay, I just want you to know there was no movies mentioned that I think. Did I mention a movie? This could persist in the corporate workspace, making it hard for others and not getting any work done. You know, I personally would have said asking better questions was a better thing. The participant is not qualified for this role. The required question, Google SEMA private policy, was given the wrong and unprofessional answer. The real answer was SEMA balls. This is from Thor. I think Thor has gotten into this one. He got me. Hats off, Thor. Hats off. This was the longest con of my lifetime. I've literally never been this long conned in my entire lifetime. And yet here we are. You know what? And I do want everybody to know, I don't know how many people knew about the con that was happening, but I want to let you know, A, it was worth it. B, would totally participate in a long con again. And C, I am happy that you did not spoil it. Spoiling is just the worst. This was absolutely fantastic. So thank you, everybody, for participating and absolutely destroying my hope and future. Now I'm literally not going to get hired. But a real question, did I actually get some results back? So AI actually didn't write that. I actually can't get the results for some fucking reason. But the SEMA joke was still executed. You don't get a video as well. Let's see. You don't get a video on top. Oh, okay. So I did break it. I literally gave the machine Ligma while getting Ligma. Okay, that was what we call the transitive Ligma property. We also fired you from terminal.shop. I also just got fired from the company I helped start. I can't even believe it. I just got fired myself. Oh my goodness, transitive Ligma property and firing. Let's go. Back to Netflix. Let's go, everybody. Absolutely fantastic. Hey, I want to say thank you to Thor for participating. I mean, this is practically a podcast episode, Thor. The name. The Ligma Gen. Present your balls. I will lick them.